The only way Donald Trump goes to jail, guaranteed. Listen to the end. Hi, I'm Darren Monroe. I worked on Kamala Harris's campaign. I was one of tens of thousands on the engagement team. I also have 30 years marketing branding experience. And you want to listen to this to the end as I break this down to you, because this is going to get really interesting as I have an update from the original video. The first thing I said is this whole idea is surrounded by independent investigators. But here's what we really didn't deep dive into well enough, and I really want to get into that. But first, I want you to understand this is sponsored by my Clarity Group. Definitely click the link in the description or on the home page. My Clarity Group takes you from chaos to clarity to calmness so you can have greater peace. Understand, there's nobody else like this. Get in while you can before the price doubles, because it's worth it. It will change the way you feel, know, and understand what's happening with this chaos with Trump. Now, this whole idea behind this ability for Trump to go to jail comes down to this. What are the key things that are no-brainer things to put him in jail? Who are the people who are investigating it? Who is financing the investigations? Because here's something nobody talks about except for in my Clarity Group, which is there are 5 different types of civil wars, and one of which is wealth. Wealth is a civil war that's happening. What do I mean by that? In other words, wealthy people, they're not all on Trump's side. There are 22 million millionaires in America, and there's 700 billionaires in America. You know what the interesting part about that is? The majority of them started from middle class or poverty, somewhere in that area. They were not spoon-fed. They did not have daddy help them like Trump did. And they don't like this guy. I'm not saying everybody doesn't. But you say, well, they gave tax breaks to them. No, that's what they're selling you on right now. That they all got the tax breaks. They didn't. Only certain people, certain class of billionaires got those breaks. Only certain class of millionaires got those breaks. Everybody ain't in that room. Plus, when you understand how money works and how wealth building works, you'll understand something else important. It's real easy to villainize everything, but the truth is they had a ton of breaks anyway. He's not helping that. So they can move money around and it won't make a difference towards their taxing anyway. You know why? Because anybody who's wealthy most people are not wealthy based on what they earn. See, the wealthier you become, it's not about what you earn, what you own, it's about what you control. And companies are never taxed on that. So let me break it down to you. You got companies that are getting taxed on net, not on gross, while you're getting gross. You're getting gross tax of 39%. Companies, wealthy people own companies. They own assets, companies that are taxed at net. Why is that important? Because they can spend down all of their expenses, all of the money there. And then what they can do is get taxed on a minimal amount. Meanwhile, their money has been spent and invest, of course, and they do have write-off. They had the write-off beforehand. That's why when you hear Bernie or you hear Elizabeth Warren talking or any of these people, oh, well, they don't have blah, blah. No. You can't tax billionaires because billionaires are not stupid enough to be individuals earning a lot of money. They'll be assets earning a lot of money. And if you start taxing the assets, even the Democrats know this, if you start taxing the assets, you actually hurt Americans. And I know some of you may disagree, but just look it up. Here's the thing. You start hurt Americans because these assets are not just owned by millionaires and billionaires. They're owned by your 401ks. Look it up. 401ks are investing in all these assets through money managers, through hedge funds. So now If you mess with those assets, you're messing with America's 401ks, hedge funds, the whole nine. Yeah, facts. So what I'm trying to get you to understand in the bigger dynamic of this is that all the wealthy ain't too happy with Trump because he's throwing this economy into the toilet with all of those stupid tariffs and everything. That doesn't mean everybody's on his side. Who are some of the famous people? Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Mark Cuban, the founder of LinkedIn, the founder of Craigslist. And that's just a few. There's a whole bunch of people who don't like this guy. The wealthy elite in New York don't like this guy. The wealthy elite in California, the ones think about it like this. I said 700 billionaires, right? You don't know the majority of them people. You ain't never heard of them. The majority of the millionaires, you never heard. You ever heard the book Millionaire Next Door? They are around, but they don't make no, and many of which aren't Democrats. They're Republicans. They just don't like this guy who claims to be a Republican. Some of them old Reagan, Bush Republicans. And what I'm pointing out to you is that these wealthy people are financing. That's what they're getting back to me. People are telling me are financing. And I have a report on this on the back end, talking about 8 investigations on Trump in the Clarity Group. That's why you want to get in there, is that these wealthy people are financing the investigations that are happening, that are going to happen in the future. They're not going to happen overnight. You got thousands of investigators. But here's where Trump gets caught up. When you think back to, well, let's put it this way. There's only one other president who has fired a lot of intelligence community investigators. There was only one. And they only fired a handful, not a lot. And that was JFK. Now, again, I always say that when I bring that in, I'm not hinting around that anything happens to this guy, and I certainly hope it doesn't. I don't support any violence whatsoever. What I'm saying is that Trump has put, whereas JFK put a few out, Trump put out thousands through, one, firing them, and some got their jobs back from the CIA, FBI, so on. They got their jobs back through the courts in those 30 weeks, because there have been 3 groups fighting for us. The 23 Democratic governors and attorney generals, the nonprofits like the ACLU and NAACP and Indivisible.org and others. And then there are the lower court judges that are both not just Democratic, but also judges who were appointed, but also judges who are Reagan and Bush and even Trump appointed judges. That's why he's trying to get national injunctions cut off by Supreme Court, because he had everybody coming at him saying, that's illegal, because, it's illegal for him to do the stuff he's doing, right? So a lot of people think, well, can he get away with this? It's not even about that. It's about what he's able to project as a power. But he doesn't. No, these 3 groups I just mentioned, nonprofits, the governor, attorney generals, and the lower courts have been fighting it back. But now the Supreme Court is going to stop it. No, they only see 1% of the cases, and this man has damn near 600 cases. Ain't happening. I'm just trying to get to you to understand the scenario we're in as I develop how he's going to jail, because now we have the wealthy who are financing investigators who lost their jobs, and there are thousands of them, and they've either been fired, the ones who didn't get their jobs back, they did the buyout, they quit, they retired, or they're already retired. And you got these guys poking into everything. When I said there are 8 different types of investigation, let me give you a couple of key, clearly blatant, low-hanging fruit. Deportations of American citizens. Elon and Doge going into these departments illegally and not letting Congress that controls them in the department. If there was ever one thing that the Democratic Congress did do right over the last 30 weeks, it was going up to those departments, because now they got physical proof of them not being allowed into those departments, and that shit's gonna hit them back really bad in the Trump administration. But the third thing, which is the most dangerous, is the grifting. Do you know his money? And I have a report on this that I talk about a little bit in the playlist of my channel, talking about his money. But I do really go deep on it in the Clarity Group, which is he's got grifting down to a science where he's used these meme coins to get countries and multinational corporations put money into the meme coins, and they draw out either lines of credit or loans that are not taxable, the Trump family, and use that money, whether it be for more investments or their own lifestyle or both. You say, well, how is the loan paid, even though it's not taxable? Through, remember what I said earlier, this is why I gave you the lesson on wealth. They are taking their cash flow and paying off these loans. Why are they doing that instead of using the cash flow? Because the cash flow is taxable. But if they're paying off loans, it's not whether, maybe they could get some off their taxes that they're paying the loans, but let's say the majority aren't taxable. They still use that cash flow to pay off the loans that they have for free that they can use or invest or both. Why am I saying this? Why am I breaking this down? Because the meme coins are like a Swiss bank account, and everybody knows it and watches it. And you got thousands of investigators who now don't have jobs. Now, some are independently looking at them, but then there are some that are working in consulting industries to look at this. And it's being financed by very wealthy people on the low. And they're not bringing it up. They're going to wait this out because he's got 40-something plus months to go. And I know we wish that Kamala would come in and save it. Ain't going to happen. Here's the thing. He's got 40 plus months to go. And I'm telling you right now, this is happening. This is happening because they're going to bring this back. They're going to hit the family, the Trump family. They're going to go after them. But here's the thing you got to know. All roads lead to Trump. And these investigators, some of which are really mad, many of which are really mad, and hell have no fury like an investigator. Hey, listen, I live downtown Chicago here, grew up on the south side of Chicago, and the most famous person out of Chicago historically for gangsterdom was Al Capone, right? Most famous gangster in the world. Not one person can name who that accountant investigator was. But we do know now that there were 6 business people, including the very known Woolworth of Woolworth Stores, who went to Harding and said, hey, we got a problem in these Chicago streets. And he sent them an accountant. They were like, an accountant? What the hell? And the accountant found a book that they already had confiscated in the police department. They did a raid on some house. There was a house of ill repute, prostitution house, whole house. And they had the ledger for all of the money going back and forth. They used that ledger to put Al in jail. If you are a diligent person, it's not going to be a big famous name like Jack Smith. It's going to be an everyday paper pushing motherfucker that's going to come after him. They worried about Jack Smith. That's why they're investigating him now. For what? For nothing. They're poking that bear because they're afraid. They want to see if there's any chance he's doing something now. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But let me tell you something. This guy could go to jail guaranteed off of somebody who ain't even Jack Smith. I'm talking about people quietly, low-key, underground, and tag Trump furiously and put him in jail, financed by wealthy people after he gets out beyond the presidential immunity. But honestly, if they found him grifting as president, they could still take him. They could take him. Facts. Here's some more things to listen to as I wrap this up. And again, I talk in depth about this because I do 2 lives a week in the Clarity group on Saturdays and Tuesdays. You should join that, especially before it doubles up in price, because it is worth the price. Get in my fucking group. Link in the description, link on the homepage. Why you think I'm always talking about it? Because it's worth it. Nobody on the fucking web is doing this. This ain't CNN, MSNBC, whatever. You ain't gonna find nothing like this. This is a rarity. And it'll make you feel 1,000% better. You'll be one of the 1% of 1% in America who will understand what's going on. I got people across 6 different countries who joined who are like, whoa, damn. Understand this. The bigger picture that we have to look at is how we got to wait this fucker out. We got a marathon going on. We got to do the marathon while he's doing the sprint. We're dealing with this shit, and I know you're frustrated. I know you're mad. I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it. But you got to understand, there's patience in this game, and we gonna get him. Now, again, the only way he slips through that is by, well, dying, and I don't suggest he die, and nor am I hoping he dies. I'm just not that guy. I think karma is a bitch is going to come back on him. But there's another thing. If he throws enough people under the bus, who could he throw under the bus? Everywhere from Elon, Doge, Steve Miller, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi. They got to know. Hegseth. These fools, J.D. Vance. I mean, think about it like this. His last term, his first term that he did. Lawyers went to jail over him. People from the cabinet went to jail or were prosecuted. So he could try that. But again, these investigators, it's the ones we don't know you got to watch. So did I earn your subscription? Subscribe to my channel. Binge watch all of my content. And at the same time, definitely get with my Clarity group, because it'll make a difference in your life.